let's get started. Good afternoon. Let's try it again. Good afternoon. One more time for good measure. Good afternoon. This is our Performing Arts Theater. And for many of you, unless you have had Mr. Hot or you happen to have had dance or show choir, this is probably the first time that you've been in here as a student. Maybe you come when visited with a parent or guardian in years past. But in our performing arts, when we come in, there's never any food and drink permitted in here. And when we sit down, we do take our backpacks off because, believe it or not, some of the parts of our backpack could rip the cloth seats. And this facility has been remodeled, and the county spent several $100,000 replacing the seating, the lighting, and some of the tech stuff that we use here in our theater. I am Mrs. Cruikshank. I am your curriculum assistant principal, and we have called this meeting today, and we will have the other half of your class in here shortly after you all leave. But we are going to talk to you today about scheduling for next year. We know and recognize that you guys are the students who come into high school in a pandemic. You left your middle schools kind of abruptly, and it's been a little strange. Is that putting it lightly? It kind of is. I do want to thank you for wearing your masks, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I believe that the young people in our country are leading the way in how we are approaching this. And I say that with all sincerity. I have more difficulty getting adults to do what they need to do with masks and social distancing. You guys get it. You understand that if we do all of these things appropriately, we're going to soon be back and people will be vaccinated and we'll be able to get a normal life. Next school year is approaching very quickly, and you're going to be a 10th grader, a sophomore. We're here today to talk about credits. We're here to talk about scheduling opportunities and all the wonderful things that are available here at Capitol High School. I have with me today our counseling staff, and I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves to you because some of you may or may not know or recognize your counselor. So, ladies.
Good afternoon. My name is Christy Vickers. I'm your counselor if your last name falls between A and E.
Hello, I am Shauna Phillips, and I am the counselor for those with the last names F through J. This is my second year here at Capitol, and prior to that, I see a lot of faces that I know from Horace Mann.
My name is Chaz Corrick. I have students with the last name starting K through Q, and I've been here for about 6 months.
My name is Tanisha Poor, and I have students with the last name R through Z, and I've been here 7 years.
I could not do the job that I do without our counselors, and we are working so very hard for each and every one of you. And we just want you to know that we are here for you. You can call, you can send a message through Schoology, you can email directly to your counselors. What we're going to talk about next is the white sheet of paper that you have in front of you. And this is just an overview of everything. They are going to be coming into your English classes in the coming weeks, and they will be working with you to help you select and request the classes that you want as electives. There are certain things that you have to take, that you can't get away from, and they're going to go over some of these things with you. So we do want you to pay attention. One of the things you're going to need out as I'm speaking, you're going to need something to write with. So if you don't have a pen or pencil out, would you please do that at this time? Okay. On that white sheet of paper at the very top, There's just a couple things we're going to mark on here. The very first thing we need is for you to put your name on there. If you'll notice, it says last name, first name. That helps us kind of alphabetize them quickly, as most business world things and school things are alphabetized by last name of student. The other thing we need on there is a working number written so we can read it. Because when the counselors get down to the actual building of your schedule, if they cannot reach you to ask a question, we're going to make a decision for you. Okay, so make sure that you have that on there clearly. And then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Vickers. She's going to speak with you regarding career clusters.
On the white piece of paper that you just started writing on, you may or may not remember in 8th grade filling out the PEP, the personalized education plan. Since you did not go back to school, none of us did last year, after this time in March, you may not have met with your counselor about that. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Any of you? Raise your hand. Okay, so we probably won't have one for you at all. And what it is, it's a piece of paper, some cardstock paper, a specific color for your graduating class. And it just has your personal information on it and a career cluster that you should have chosen. So if you notice on the white paper, in the very middle, you see where it says career clusters, towards the bottom, middle of the paper. Choose one now. If it's not a set in stone decision, that's something that can be changed later. But we're going to have one of these on file for all of you. And we are going to collect this white piece of paper today before you leave. This is going to help us have something on file for you if we never locate the actual PEP, which may not exist. I don't think many of you remember doing it, so we'll have to start over, and that's okay.
Okay. With that, the area she's talking about is right here on the right-hand side, under where it says career cluster. And very quickly, I'm going to go over those. I think that's an important part, Ms. Vickers. Agriculture, food, and natural resource, architecture and construction, art and AV, audiovisual tech and communication, business management and administration, education and training, finance, government and public administration, health sciences, hospitality and tourism, human services, information technology, law, public safety, correction, and security. And then you'll notice the others are listed on the right there: manufacturing, marketing, science, technology, engineering, and math. And the last one is transportation, distribution, and logistics. Again, that's a lot to take in if we're saying, hey, choose one of these. I think probably the best thing would be to ask you to mark the ones that sound interesting to you and you think it's in a field that you would like to learn more about. And then as the counselors are working with you and getting to know you and they talk to you in those English classes, they'll be able to go more into detail about those things. And you're going to hear the word PEP, your personal education plan that Ms. Vickers mentioned, and you're going to be hearing career clusters more and more and more. So we will all get comfortable with these things together. So you can put a star beside them, you can circle them, mark the ones that sound interesting. I think that's a good place to start, Ms. Vickers, because again, you guys didn't get the opportunity to work with your 8th grade counselor in this regard last year, and that's perfectly okay. You are not behind. It'll be just fine.
Okay, the next thing we would like for you to look at while we go over is the purple piece of paper that has your class course offerings. At the very top, you're going to notice that you have your 4 content areas. You have science, history, English, and math. You have to choose one course from each of those. So if you look at English, your choices for next year are English 10 and English 10 honors. Some of you might be in English 9 honors right now and you would like to continue in an honors course. If you're doing well, we will let you take an honors course based upon your teacher recommendations and your grades. On the next side, you're going to see history, just across from it. You have world history right now. That's your 9th grade history requirement. So next year, you can take U.S. Studies or U.S. Studies Honors. Those are your two that you're going to choose from for 10th grade that are required for you to graduate. If you notice under the history, you're going to see some more classes that have the asterisk beside them, which means they are weighted or honors classes. You see AP Psychology, AP World History, AP Euro History, and AP US.
Ms. Vickers, what does AP stand for?
Advanced Placement. So that is a weighted class, which will in turn give you a weighted GPA. Some of you are already doing this. Some of you may want to take more advanced classes and end up with a higher class ranking when it counts your senior year. For the AP classes, you do have to take an exam, and there is a small fee for you to take those classes. You can just put a check mark on the line beside the one that you want for your 4 core classes, and then I'll get to the electives in a minute.
And this piece of paper, sorry to interject, but this piece of paper is simply a guiding tool for you, okay? This is a piece of paper that we need you to hold on to for the next couple of weeks. I need for you to make it, put it in a safe place in your backpack so that you have it when it comes time for these counselors to talk with you in that English class. The other thing that we will need is for you to have a conversation with your parent or guardian, those folks at home, maybe talk with an older brother or sister, talk with your teachers that you currently have. They can answer some of the questions you have, but this should be part of the conversation that you're having with people that are around you over the course of the next few days and weeks. This is a guide of what we have to offer. You can write questions on it. You can mark the ones that are interesting to you. And then later we will end up putting that into the Google request form that the counselors will go over in English. But the purple paper is going to be yours to keep and hold on to. The white piece of paper we're going to pick up at the end of this session, okay?
I'm going to go back to history for just a moment. Please understand, as a 10th grader, you have to have a U.S. history. Your choices are U.S. history, the one underneath it, which is honors U.S. studies, and then the AP U.S. history can count. The other electives, AP Psychology, AP World, and AP Euro, you are more than welcome to take one of those, but they will be in addition to the U.S. that you have to have. Does that make sense? Okay. How many of you know how many credits you need to graduate? Good?
How many? 23. Close. Very close.
You need 24 credits to graduate.
They changed it to years.
18 of those credits are going to come from your core content areas. The other 6 are going to come from electives, which is going to be determined based upon your career cluster that you write down. We're going to try to stick to your chosen path. But the 18 required will come from English, history, science and math, with a fine arts credit, a PE credit, and a health credit. So someone asked, how do you want us to mark this paper? So as you choose one class from each content area, when we get down to the electives, you need 3 electives. But I would choose 4 to have a backup elective. So you might want to number those, like, okay, my number 1 choice for next year is going to be health, because I haven't had that. Or you're going to think your number 1 choice might be a fine arts credit such as films, because you haven't had a fine arts credit. But if you would number those in an order of what is most important to you, and we can try to accommodate that request. But let's go back up and look at science. When you're choosing a science course, please keep this in mind. You have 2 science classes that are required for you to graduate. Those are earth, space science and biology. The third science can be your choice, and you need a 4th science if you plan on going to college. You need 3 science credits to graduate. You have 1 right now. You either have earth, space as a 9th grader, or you have biology. Some of you took earth, space in 8th grade, which allowed you to take biology a year early. So next year, if you have already had earth, space, you go to biology. If you've already had biology, then you can start looking at these other science choices. You must have biology first. Anything you'd like to add about science?
That was a great way to explain that. And if you've had biology and you loved it, go ahead and sign up for Mr. Dorsey's AP biology class. You can do that.
Okay, I'm going to skip over to math. Some of you already had Algebra 1 in the 8th grade, which means you could be in geometry now. So this is going to be a little like the science. If you are in Algebra 1 right now, next year you are going to go to geometry. That's your choice, geometry, regular or honors. If you are currently in geometry, and some may even be in Algebra 2, for students on a fast math track, they often pair up geometry with Algebra 2 as a 9th grader if they had Algebra 1 as an 8th grader. And that's when you're going to go on to the college calc classes by the time you're ready to leave Capital, and you can receive those dual credits or college credits for math. So if you are in geometry now, you would choose Algebra 2 for next year. If you happen to pair those up, then you're going to go on to the next thing, which will be pre-cal and trig, which most of you are going to be in geometry. So just make sure that you understand that before you're marking these things. We do go back and double check what you're in and your credit sheet to make sure that you're selecting the right class. Last year, that was so difficult when we were scheduling all of you, because none of us were in school. We didn't get to go to the middle school to meet with you, and we basically had to look at a spreadsheet to choose your classes. And that's an easy way for us to make mistakes, because we're human. I'll go back and look at a credit sheet and see that maybe someone was in the math that they shouldn't be. We have plenty of time to correct that. It happens, but we don't want that to happen. So that's why we're explaining this now. And when we meet with you in English classes, you'll be able to ask any questions that you're not sure of. Okay. The foreign languages that we offer here are Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3. Spanish keeps going. AP, Honors Spanish. French, however, we only offer French 1 and French 2 in the building because our French teacher is only here for half a day. You do not need a foreign language to graduate from high school. However, if you plan on going to college, most colleges expect you to have 2 consecutive years of a foreign language. So if you are in Spanish 1 right now, you are going to go ahead and go directly to Spanish 2. Same with French. If you're in French 1 right now, you're going directly to French 2. That should be a priority. We don't want to take a gap year between languages. That's not a good idea, so that it's fresh.
What if I fail Spanish? What if I fail
Okay.
it and I hate it?
Okay, so if you hate Spanish and you did not do well, but you know that you're going to college, there's a few things you can do, actually. You can take Spanish 1 again. Maybe you just need another year. You can grasp the material better, take it again next year. You do well, then by the time you're in 11th grade, you move on to Spanish 2. Or you can just say, okay, I'm done with Spanish. I just can't do this. We can start with French 1 next year. If you do that, you still have to take French 2 the following year, because your languages, your 2 years of a language have to be in the same language. The colleges aren't going to look at Spanish 1 and French 1 and think, oh, they have 2 years. It needs to be Spanish 1, Spanish 2, French 1, French 2. So if you have any questions about that, be sure to bring that up in your English class when we're in there as well.
Okay, the next several sections on your purple sheet is the visual arts, vocal music electives, instrumental, dance, and on the back side of that you have theater and the ROTC. You have several electives to choose from within there. Several of you have taken the art class. You can take Introduction to Visual Communications. If you want to go further in art, you may do so. You can see those listed there. The same rules apply for the AP and the honors, as Ms. Vickers has explained. Show choir, you have to audition for the show choir, but you can take chorus, you can take vocal ensemble. Instructional music, we have band 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe you guys stepped out of the band world for a year or so here under the pandemic, and if you're a band student and you've always wanted to be in band in high school, come back. Mr. Jinks is ready and willing to work with you, and it's going to be wonderful rebuilding and reestablishing all of our performing arts because they really suffered during the pandemic. Then you have orchestra, piano, music appreciation, guitar, the dance classes. You can take a regular dance class. If you want to audition for our dance company, you may do so. Theater, Introduction to Theater, Lights and Design, and Acting 2, and of course ROTC at this point, 1, 2, and 3. I apologize, I just caught that as I flipped that over and looked. I should have had ROTC 3 on there for you, so that is a correction that I need to make. But the main reason I wanted to speak about those kind of collectively together is this. If you have not taken PE in the gym with our gym teachers, you have the ability to take one of these classes, say dance, and it would count for your fine arts credit. But if you take that dance class and you do a 2-week integrated PE class, it's built in Schoology already, you do it on your own time, and we're going to give you a full 9 weeks to complete it. If we do that, or if you complete that, then you pick up a dance credit for being in the dance class, and you also pick up a letter grade for PE. With the ROTC program and with sports can go either way. You can either get a letter grade credit by completing that class, or you can get kind of a check mark, if you will, that you have had PE. And the way you do that with sports is you complete an entire season. You say, I'm going to run cross country for Capital High School. You make the team, stay with that team for a year, take that for a season, take that integrated PE, pass it, and you can get a letter grade out of it. Or you can say, you know what, I was a team member, the coach signs off on it, and you don't have to take PE, but you don't get the letter grade for PE. Okay, it's kind of like a check pass, and you don't have to do that. ROTC, you need to take 2 consecutive years of ROTC, and you can get that check pass. There's no grade available for the PE with ROTC, but this integrated PE credit is a wonderful thing, and it's directly affecting our upcoming freshmen and rising sophomores, which is you guys, because it will free up another class in your schedule. Whereas before you had to sign up and take PE, you can go this route and it'll open up room for another elective, and maybe you really like art and you can take all those art classes. General electives. Ms. Vickers?
Your general electives, some of them we have went over briefly. You're going to see the PE, the health, life fitness, sports history, world religions, journalism, foods. Those are some things that are out there for you to choose that aren't part of, well, some of them can be a CTE track. But when you are choosing your electives, I'm just going to use this as an example. If you have officer bails right now for a class, that is part of a CTE track under the law enforcement cluster. So if you have him now for the law and ethics class, which is the first one, the course number 1225, and you like it, then next year you're going to go into the second one, which is the 1226. Same with intro to visual communications or digital photography. Those are also part of a track. So if you're in intro to visual right now, then next year, and you love it, next year you would do digital photography. So you have lots of choices here in addition to what is required. A lot of you have probably PE right now as a ninth grader, but if you want to go a different route in getting that, like Ms. Cruikshank suggested, and you haven't had PE, be thinking about that. Be thinking about all these choices when you choose your 4 and you meet with us, and we can finalize that before we submit that Google form.
The other thing I want to add to that is with those CTE, and that kind of leads into that next section, that last section on your sheet, those CTE programs, if you're in, for instance, that law enforcement that she mentioned earlier, and you've taken 1 or 2 of those classes already, there are 4 prescribed classes within those CTE programs that you see listed at the bottom. The ones listed on the left-hand side are the actual class names that go along with the program. So if you skip down, the 3rd one from the bottom on the right says Law and Public Safety Program. If you are moving up into sophomore status, the next class for you in that class is that Ethical Issues. So there it is. They're all listed for you. Why would you want to be in a CTE track? At the end of your 4 years, you get a certificate through the State of West Virginia Education Department stating that you have completed that series and that course, and it will help you on applications into school for further education in those career clusters, or it will help you in the job force to go directly into work. For instance, law enforcement, if you want to be a police officer and you take those 4 classes, you are given priority when you apply to join the police force and go to the police academy and do those things. So there are benefits to that. We have the next group coming in. Ms. Vickers, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, just keep in mind to go over this with your parents, hang on to this purple sheet, do not lose it, have it available when we are ready to meet with you in English classes, and we are going to collect the white paper.
One more thing before we let you go, and listen very carefully. This is 2nd semester, and we're about 6.5 weeks into it. You need to pass your classes. If you do not pass courses, it does not work like middle school. You don't just get passed on. We are not going to give you a diploma. You have to do the work to earn the diploma, and you have to have those 24 credits. Pass them now, save yourself the stress and the worry, because credit recovery is difficult, because you have to keep up with your 10th grade year material while trying to make up those 9th grade credits that you may fail. So that's what I need. I need for you to please, 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 I beg you, make sure that you're turning in your work on time, no zeros, get the credit. And for some of us, that might mean survival and just simply no zeros and get a passing grade, okay? I appreciate you so much for your attention today. We are so glad you're here with us. Next year is going to be a great year.